That's a plan. Why don't we do this? Why don't we run maybe like 15 minutes?
Yeah, like I said, like, we just like I said, that was my thing. Is like let's figure out like what feedback did you get and the feedback that I got, and just see what we need
Yeah.
to improve. Like I said, my criticisms that I got were criticisms that I already knew, and that I'm trying to correct, and that I'm trying to fix. It's just the way But
What?
as far as content and everything else, I mean, like I said, like I told everybody else, this is new territory. We're just trying to figure this out. So don't judge on, you know, I guess we haven't gotten the flow and everything of it yet, but more about, just
Yeah.
what we can do. Yeah.
No, I like it. Well, I can jump in.
Uh,
I think so. Andy really liked it. She heard was the Spotify you dropped, was the Spotify
yeah.
cast, and
Which was
so
number
she,
two.
number two, she heard number two. She said she liked it, but
Mhm.
she said, "Hey," she was like, "Maybe," she's like, "think about like how that reflects on your job." I was like, that's all right. No,
That's a
no, no.
that's a thing I think we discussed when we were talking about it, because you're in a more prominent, more dealing with people, dealing with clients, marketing type thing where, again, like, if we just do audio, nobody will know who the fuck anybody is anyway. You know what I mean? But you never
Yeah.
know.
Well, but at the same time, like I think that was more based on I think it came up because of the JFK thing. She
Yeah.
was like, hey, she was like, I know that's a ticket thing
Yeah.
that they made their tongue in cheek making fun of the JFK issue
Yeah.
about getting it through his head and that whole bit. I was like, no, no, that's the point. It's like,
Yeah,
no,
it's like
we're big
we didn't
fans.
make this up. Like, it's a thing.
We're big fans. We're big fans of JFK, and that's an awful assassination. Like, no, that's not what we believe. And she said, well, maybe she's like, just think about it in the way that the overflow of people that aren't fans of the ticket and
Yeah.
aren't fans of the dumb zone. Yeah, but she brought up a good point with that, and I was like, what? I was like, maybe we explain a little more, or I explain more, like, hey, look, because that's the bit.
No, like, in a way, it's like, yeah, we kind of need to keep an eye out for that. But then, if it sort
Yeah,
of stifles what we talk about, which is
right.
the whole point is
Yeah.
to talk how we talk and about
Yes.
what we do talk about, then it kind of
Yes.
defeats the purpose of
Yeah.
what it is that we're doing or what it is that we're talking about. If we're like, well, we can't talk about this, we can't talk about that because,
Right.
but I mean, I get, like this one, like I said, this one's not gonna go anywhere. This is just for us to
Yeah.
test. But when I let everybody else listen to it, like, Jordan was really scared. He's like, because I've heard y'all, I heard y'all talk, and it's like y'all just drop all kinds of stuff that, like, yeah, within the confines of our group and within the confines of people that know you, but it's like if it's like public stuff, But I'm like, I mean, but I'm in a different situation.
Yeah.
I don't work for anybody. Like, it's like them. It's like I can't get canceled. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I can't get fired from my job for something I said or
Yeah.
whatever. You know what I mean? It's a different thing
Yeah. Yeah.
on your end, and it's a different thing if
Yeah.
we have other people that join us. Like, who knows what the
Right.
repercussions are for them? But then at the same
Yeah.
time, like I said, it kind of stifles and it kind of censors,
Well,
which is the whole point of us doing this.
yeah.
Unless that's you know another podcast, another
No, no,
thing, because
no. And honestly, it worked its way into a good conversation that I had with Andy in saying, yeah, but this is the bit,
yeah,
right? It's absurdist casting,
yeah,
and the things that well, first of all, it is the same with me because at the end of the day, like I'll drop reels on my personal page, right? It's the same
mhm,
thing, like personal views and everything else. Like we in 2025, my guy,
yeah.
and nothing warrants. And again, like if I'm doing the Al Hitler bit and being like, no, I really believe this,
See, that's what
like
I'm
then
saying.
yeah,
I think, even though I think there's things that we can do that I think we all agree that, like, maybe that's not, like dropping the N word just like we normally do, even though that's not, no matter how much we explain it to people, that has never been a racial thing, that has never been a thing.
never,
I could get of, like, maybe we could kind of do without it on this kind of thing,
right,
just to kind of
right.
not do a thing. And like you said, something extreme like that,
We
then
all
that's,
so
at that point, But at that point, it's like, if those are your views, like, why would you hide them? If that's really what you believe, if you're scared of what
Right.
everybody else might think, then to me, it's like, you don't really believe it then, and you don't believe in
Right.
it that strongly. If you're like, yeah, I thought Hitler was a great man, but you don't want to tell anybody, well, then you really
You
don't
did?
think so.
You did, Adrian? I never knew that about you. Wow. It's all coming together now. Yeah. No, well, here's the thing is, okay, so, but it brings us to a good point, and I love that we're talking about it here. So and it was more feedback. She was like, hey, maybe just be mindful of that. And
Yeah,
my answer to her was like, I am being
yeah,
mindful of it. And first of all, who do we think we are? Number one, no
yeah,
one cares, right? And the second part is for sure no one at work, because they've heard me say the exact same things
yeah,
in the people that I choose to work with.
yeah,
You know what I mean? And I think there's a big difference where that element of we find ourselves gravitating towards certain kinds of people.
yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
so,
and
and
it's true. It's true nowadays with like the political climate,
yes,
there's people that are on one side that
yes,
be like, well, I'll work with this real estate agent just because I know that
yes,
this person also supports the same kind of shit that I do. Or I won't work with this person because, it's just that's just the way it is now. And it's just with
that's right.
anything else. I don't think that you'll find yourself out of like nobody to work with. It's
Yeah,
just, you know, like I said, you could go straight up Nazi, and there will
yeah,
be people that support him. Be like, man, he got some backlash. He got canceled. You know what? I'm gonna support the shit out of him. And all of a sudden, if you're okay with that, you have a whole line of people waiting to work with you. You know what I mean?
think
There's,
if if you think the Third Reich is misunderstood, then I'm your guy.
you know,
Mark that.
and guaranteed, yes, you might lose some, but you will
Yes,
gain also
yes,
some on whatever side
yes.
that you know what I mean. So it's not.
Well, and to be clear, yes, you're right, right? So like for me, I think it doesn't matter what you stand for. If you, first of all of our lives are recorded, right? This thing
Yeah,
that we're doing is what I think is a passion project. You and I have talked about this, right? This is something that's fun and enjoyable, and there shouldn't be filters. And I
and on
think
purpose.
on purpose, moving forward, it's steady as she goes, same as what we've
Mhm.
done before. I think there's something about what you and I bring to the table together. I think we vibe off each other, and the things that we come up with, like, I think we're in a space that we understand the real value of absurdity in sports and the jokes that we have and things like that. Like, there's a nugget of what you, me, and our friend group and our families and now and our wives, what we joke about,
Yeah.
like, is truly something that we both believe people would get a benefit from tapping into
Mhm.
for a few minutes of having joy and laughing in this stupid world that we live in that
Yeah.
is absurd, because you have to take a side. Bob, as Dan and Jake, they talk about it a lot, where they're like, look, man, it really doesn't matter what we think about Trump, for example,
Mhm.
but damn, that dude kills. Like,
Yeah.
he is a comedy genius, and so it's like, Jake gets real scared that he's losing, he's too political.
Yeah.
That's not what I want this to be, but but I'm not afraid to get into those waters either,
Oh
because
yeah.
at
I
the end of
mean,
the day,
yeah.
like that.
It's just. I mean, at the end of the day, like you said, like, what are we doing?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? If we're
Right.
if we're going to again pick a thing and be like, well,
Yeah.
we can't. I mean, if that's what we believe in, and it's not technically morally a thing
Mhm.
that maybe most people would be against. It's just an opinion, and it's more of like, hey, you can have this opinion, you can have this,
Right.
thing or whatever. It's just like the big thing with like gay, not gay.
Yes. No,
You
yellow.
either get it or you don't get it. If
Right.
you hear it and you're like, oh, that's offensive, well, then you don't understand the bit. I'm sure
Yes.
that if you understood the bit, if you understood the explanation of the bit,
That's right.
you wouldn't have a problem with it.
That's right.
You know what I
And so
mean?
I
And that's
think,
what a lot of stuff that we talk about is like, yeah, it sounds absurd and it sounds crazy and it
yes,
sounds racist maybe and it sounds whatever. But if you understood what we're actually trying to say, is that you'll understand that no, we're not being racist and we're not being, because we make fun of everybody. We make fun of
right.
ourselves most of
That's
all.
the point.
So it's not picking on anybody. It's not mean
No,
natured. It's not,
no.
it's just what we do,
Yes. I love that. And it's the truth, because I think for us, we're an equal opportunity
Yeah.
hater slash joker, and I think you're right. And it's funny you bring that up because I think the dumb zone and getting away and being free, quote unquote, they're less free now. If you listen to how Jake specifically, and a little bit of Dan,
Mm-hmm.
some Blake, but like the way in that they navigate, they're a little more sensitive now because each subscriber matters.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But you can also
Jake,
tell when they're like, fuck it.
yeah,
I think
yeah,
there's things like picking their battles.
they're
There's things that
picking.
like they won't wade into because like, well, maybe, but then there's some shit where you can hear them straight up like, fuck them if they want to unsubscribe because
That's
I
right.
said this like fuck type thing.
Yes, it's like having a giant baby. Like if you look at the dumb zone, right? They are a baby right now, but they're backed up by these long years of experience. No, but I was saying about the dumb zone specifically. I think it's the same thing that we're doing. I mean, we're not creating something new, but in creating something new, I think there is that inherent like not concern, but like guide rails, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's so because we want everyone to really get what we're doing. And the ones that don't, yes, it's okay. But I do see it and I hear it a lot in the sensitivities of the dumb zone sometimes where they're well, talked about politics and I guess we
Yeah.
lost like 10 subscribers. And I get it. But yes, you're right. Then there's other moments that you pick your battles, I guess. Yes,
Yeah.
is what I'm saying. But in picking those battles, I think there's beauty in the fact that we don't have to over explain everything. Like if you don't understand that we're joking, for example, about JFK, right?
Yeah.
Like then it's not for you. But if you go back and look at our receipts and our history, right, even online and in what the ticket has said and everything else, like if you don't get that vein, then yes, we're not for you. But for a second, don't think I could give two craps about like, hey man, I get fired tomorrow for not having this podcast, but for saying something dumb, or
Yeah.
just because I get fired because
Yeah.
no one really runs anything.
Yeah.
You know what I
Yeah. I
mean?
mean,
Like,
yeah, you don't own it. Yeah. Like, yeah. It could be anything.
yeah, even if we owned our own businesses like the Dumb Zone does, they're still under the power of something else, right? They could get shut down by having not enough listeners. And
Like I said,
that in itself is someone's boss.
I think we can. I think we can do a lot without having. Like I said, there's things that we both agree that like maybe they're not for public consumption. You know,
Sure.
because again, it's just like if you are going to like the ticket says, if you just turn the radio on in a rental car and you just hear this thing and you're offended because you don't understand the history, you don't understand the joke, you don't understand
The
it's just like
satire.
even with like the dumb zone, right? They
Yeah.
say a lot of things and they're being sarcastic about it,
Yeah.
like political things, right?
Yes.
And so sometimes other people will hear it and be like, "Oh, I can't believe that." Well, no, you don't understand. They're saying this sarcastically.
Yes.
They don't actually, so because that's just because of just the temperature nowadays and just the thing nowadays.
Right.
Everybody else is speaking and what everybody else is
Yeah.
saying, like they just kind of say these things in a
Right.
sarcastic way. But if you just hear like, oh, I guess these people are this, no, you just haven't listened. And it's the same thing. If you pick up one little bit and you get offended about something that we said without
That's on
listening
you.
to everything and knowing
Yeah.
our history, knowing how we talk
Exactly.
and how we
Yeah.
actually think, then
Yeah.
it's not for you.
Well, and it goes back to I think you and I are big fans of Dan. Dan likes to, again, it's called the Dumb Zone.
Yeah.
That dude reads a lot. He's super smart and he's a great father. He's a great husband, but he doesn't let you see that. His persona, right? Like just with this
Yeah.
podcast, like you and I, it's a satirical look on what a person is. And Dan is one of the best people besides like Norm Macdonald, who's his hero,
Yeah.
that pushes the boundary of I want you to not like me. But it's a mystery because again, like you can see those hints and people always talk about him in the sense that no. Dan gave me the best advice about my children, which is, hey, don't worry about pictures at Christmas. Take pictures of your kids when they're doing everyday things. And I thought that was one of the sweetest things that any dad has said, right? And Dan
Yeah, because
said,
everybody has all the other stuff. Everybody got
yes,
it's got the other stuff, but yeah, just the mundane,
yes.
everyday bullshit.
And if you don't know that, then you literally take everything he does out of context. You just
Yeah.
think he's a over hypersexualized chauvinist, and he's not.
Yeah.
He does that as a bit. This is for us, I think, the lane that we can. It doesn't matter what lane we pick, whatever, guardrails or anything else. I want it to be what we make of it. But I think we both love how that aspect of like us or hate us, if you hate us, the more you dig on who we are as people, you will realize this is satire,
Yeah.
and it's satire with sports points and everything else, right? We're not the first people to do it.
Mhm.
Did you listen, speaking of that, did you listen to the Meg Matters Thursday episode with the
Yeah,
Dumb
I
Zone?
did. Yeah.
I thought that was one of their best episodes, and you know why? Because they treated those two ladies with such funny respect. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they were clowning on women, and they were doing that. They were pushing the boundaries like the
But
Dumb Zone
without, yeah,
does.
but without actually being insulting about it or, demeaning
Without
about it or anything like that. Just
right
doing their bit.
doing their bit where it's like, well, they sponsored. They're a title sponsor for
Yeah.
this thing about mental and emotional health, and this Meg girl that basically unalived herself, right,
Yeah.
with whatever she was going through. And it's such a dark subject matter, but it's important. And the Dumb Zone did it in their own way. They're a
Yeah.
title sponsor, but also like it was funny because they made fun of them being a title sponsor. And Dan said something really funny where he's like, "Oh, when is it?" And he's like, "Oh, well, I was gonna go, but I didn't hear anything back about my appearance fee."
Yeah.
I thought that was very funny.
And the thing is, if they would have gone through it like too serious about it, it wouldn't
Yes,
have been them.
it's not
That's
them.
not that. You
That's
know
the
what I
point.
mean? So it's like,
Yeah.
it's just part of their bit. Like I said, you can do it and still
Yes.
do your bit and still be
Yes.
you without just
Yes.
completely being disrespectful for just the
Yeah.
the point of just, like I said, doing it just for doing it
They're not.
purposes, even though it has nothing to do with what you're doing. I mean, they expect me to, like,
To be
I'm this thing, like
yeah.
I expect me to talk
Yeah.
this way to them or whatever. You know what I mean?
I think those boys are super kind, right? And I think if you just know them on a surface level, or if you just listen to one podcast of theirs, and the same with the ticket, right? Gordon
Yeah.
Keith is so misunderstood, and he's just such a smart, kind, sensitive person,
Yeah.
right? I think that you and I, I'm not comparing ourselves to them. I never would. But I think we also are very, very sensitive fathers. I think we're sensitive husbands. I think we're kind, but it's not something we go out and brag about, right? Like even just talking
Mhm.
about it right now.
Yeah.
But it's something that we'll call each other out on in a funny way,
And
just
that's
by
it.
even
We
hinting
make
about
fun
it.
of each other for this shit. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
when we say like, this or that, or we don't say it in an actual way to like try to make you feel bad. It's just kind of like in a cool, like, like I said, it's almost like a, sort of like a fist bump, but in our own way. You know what I mean?
That's right. That's
Like
right.
if we call each other, we're like, you pussy whoop, like you ain't got, we're not actually trying to say anything bad. We're
Yes.
just kind of saying like, oh, like you, like you
Yeah.
good. You know what I'm saying? Like you got it good, and you're like, hey,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like,
Yeah. And it's funny. It's funny because that is the entirety of what makes us a special friend group, right? Sometimes I feel bad because there's guys that I know that they don't have this, right?
yeah,
They don't have the ability to be fully vulnerable and transparent and
yeah,
doing it, whether you and I are talking across the city like we are right now, or we would be in the same room, it would be the same thing.
yeah,
And we can pivot on a dime where we're like talking about very, very funny and silly sports things. And then we bring it on down a little bit,
yeah,
but all the way down. And we're
yeah,
talking about mental health and depression, right? And the things that we've all gone through as a family together and friends and our individual struggles, right? I think that is the core of what you and I are doing together and making fun and jokes and sports, but also like that vulnerability, I think is something that's really special. That episode was really cool. I listened to it again, the Dumb Zone one with
yeah,
Meg Matters, because that's a highly sensitive subject. And it was funny because Taryn was saying, she knows them, right? She used to
yeah,
be a part of Cumulus, I guess. I don't know their backstory, but she, just like you said with Jordan, with my sweet niece, with Jordan, where she was like, ooh, you two guys are starting a podcast. I'm scared. So this lady, Kim, that's a part of that Meg Matters Foundation, when, Taryn was telling her, she was like, yeah, she was scared to get
yeah,
in, to jump in,
yeah.
but she had a great time.
And like I said, I took the matter seriously, and I was listening to it seriously because I was listening to it, and
Yeah.
then then I had to do my Dan thing and be like, man, she sounds really hot. Are they doing like Are they doing a video today, or is it just an audio thing? Because I need to go check this out.
Exactly.
No, but like I said, like
I
you were
love it.
talking about, like our just our group and stuff. It's like I'm serious. Like you won't believe how many people just don't believe that we've never gotten in a fight that we've
Never.
never stopped talking to each other because somebody did something or somebody didn't do something or whatever. And it's like, dude, like, I'm serious. Like, the most heated fights we ever had, maybe when we were younger and it was just about sports, but we would never stop talking to each other.
No.
You know, we would never be like, man, fuck him. And like, we wouldn't talk for
Yeah.
like days or like, hey, just ignore that because like we got into, like, we've never, you know what I mean? Like I said, as
No.
adults, the most heated we've gotten into is Batman fights. That's it. But nothing that like,
You
man, fuck him. Like, you know, I ain't gonna talk to him. I ain't gonna answer his, to like, you know, whatever. And like I said, we've gotten into all kinds of stuff. We get to talking about all kinds of things, and we all come from different, as far as, you know, like I said, in our group, we're all married now, but there used to be some of us that weren't, some of us that weren't, you know,
Right.
different experiences, different, you know, even though we grew up together, we all got raised different, you know what I mean?
Yes.
We all have different
Yes.
experiences as far as like in the home.
Yeah.
And different chemical things, you know, that now to this day, but none of it affects anything. You know what I mean? None of it affects any of it. And so I think that's why we can talk about shit and not within our group. We can talk about whatever we want without.
Right.
And that's that thing I was going to say earlier about like, we're equal opportunity offenders, but we also don't get offended.
No.
Like, you really
That's
can't
it.
say anything to me. Like, even if somebody was being mean to me on purpose
Right.
and was trying to offend me about anything, the way I
Right.
am, I would probably be like, I'm not even going to entertain it and just move on about it. Not
Yeah.
take it personal, not take it in any way because
Yeah.
I don't have time for that shit. Like, like we say, like, I'm 45 years old. I got too much fucking shit going on to worry about what you think when you don't have anything to do in my
Yeah.
life. Like, why would
I
I
got a lot going
entertain?
on. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Somebody could call me out on the street, call me a wetback, call me
Right.
whatever the fuck they want. You know, I would just move on
Right.
because I honestly don't have time for it, and it really wouldn't offend me. I've learned
Mm-hmm.
and I've gotten to the point where it's like, it's not worth whatever it is dealing with these people that have these, whatever they are, opinions or
Yeah.
feelings or views. And I just move on. I don't let it fuck with my day. So then it's hard for you to offend me. You know what I mean?
That's
Like,
right.
and like I said, we say all kinds of shit to each other. And we've never been like they do. Like, that was a little too far.
Nah.
You know what I
No.
mean?
I think that's also a superpower that we have. I mean, and a lot of people have it. Some
Yeah.
people don't, and it is what it is. But it also, if you are that way, if being offended isn't a thing for you, it allows you to look at the world in a different way.
Yeah.
You can laugh at all of it. And I think the people that have gone through trauma, like we all have, everyone has to a certain
Yeah.
degree, but the people that accept trauma in their life and the people that really walk with it, right, and sit in it and rest in it, you've helped me out, Nestor, all of our friend groups individually and together. Y'all been such a support to us and me when we've walked through some very deep things and hard things like we all have had, right? I think that there's beauty in finding humor in all of it. And I think that's something that we've all connected with, to where you're right. You're like, oh, you're not going to offend me. Like, I've seen some very dark things, and
That's what I'm saying. Like,
I've
what
had
can
to
you
go
say
through.
to me that I haven't already said to myself? You know what
Right.
I'm saying? Or I haven't already, like,
Exactly.
you know what I mean? As long as you
Gone
don't, like,
through, or
yeah, as long as,
yeah,
I mean, it's true. Like, as long as you don't, like, physically come and do something to me, it doesn't really
yeah,
affect me a whole lot. You know what I mean?
it doesn't.
I mean, I'm
And
talking
I
about
think,
strangers. You know what I mean?
yeah, of course.
Like, if somebody like you or like people that you know really like said something really hateful and you
Yeah.
felt like they really meant that
Like
shit,
they
and like,
meant
yeah,
it.
it would affect you because it's like, holy shit, like there's a person that like, but I'm talking about like strangers or things I hear and I'm
Right.
like, I don't give a shit.
Yep. And that's the
You
way,
know what I mean?
that's
Like,
a,
that doesn't, I don't care. That doesn't
it doesn't.
affect me whatsoever. You know what I mean? I don't spend another fucking second on it, other than as long as it's something that makes me think or makes
Yeah.
me like, you know, because there's stuff that happens that like doesn't affect me in a bad way, but does make me think and does
Right.
help me like get, you know, some stuff that like, oh, you know, that's helpful, but
Yeah.
I don't let it fuck with me. It's a thing of like, we're not special. We're not the only ones.
No.
There's other people just like us. And so if those are the type of people that, you know, navigate towards our thing, then that's the people that we're kind of looking
Yeah.
for.
Yeah. And I think so. I think that's ultimately what's going to happen with this. Like, I don't know, but I think we're going to find like a new community.
Yeah.
Let's say it's maybe 10 people that we're able to impact and reach out. Amazing. Amen. We found 10 new friends and people
Yeah.
that really vibe with us. And again, I love how you did the thumbnail of the last recording, I think, where we were both talking about that we're kind of victims of not just the fallout with the ticket and the dumb zone, but we are victims of a lot of fallout, whether
Yeah.
you want to call it the pandemic. If the pandemic really affected you in a way, and it did everybody, it
Yeah.
changed our lives, right? And if you find that thread within us of the fallout, right? And let's say you find us first, which is rare, and you know nothing about what happened with the dumb zone and the ticket, but you found us and you know that shared feeling of like, whatever, hey,
Yeah.
bad stuff has happened. And we're talking about mom and dad getting a divorce with
Yeah.
these two shows, and we're navigating that. So if you found in a shared element, whether it was a pandemic or you lost someone or you're going through a hard time, right? Like,
Yeah.
and you would laugh at one of our dumb jokes. Damn, heck yeah,
I mean,
you
it's
found
all,
us.
yeah, it's all in one way or another therapy. Like it really
Yes,
is in one way or another. Like I said, everybody has their own form of, again, if you're listening to something, sometimes like you're not having a good day and you listen to something, it kind of helps you. Like that's as good as church. That's as
yep,
good as talking to a therapist. That's as good as,
uh-huh.
because it changed your mood. It helped you,
Yes,
that's what we have to figure out what this is, because we can talk about so many things. So many things, like I said. If we, like, a lot of people don't know about the way we grew up. A lot of people don't
yep,
know about a lot of the experiences we had from, again, growing up the way we did.
yeah,
The fact that we're lucky to just be alive because of a
yes,
lot of situations. You
yes,
you know what I mean? Like just our lives, period, are a lot of things that, even though we're not famous people, we're not anything like that. The fact that we can talk about stuff that also happened to other people, you know what I mean? Things that
right,
had just, we made it through this shit. We're
yeah,
here so far.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I think all of that stuff, like I said, that's why we have to figure out like what this is and how it is, because other than just talking about what went on the radio, I think we also have a lot of shit to offer, a lot of
I agree.
experience, a lot of things that we've gone through, right or wrong. Doesn't mean we
Right,
did anything right or we did anything wrong, but just
sure,
talking about these things so that other people be like, oh shit, like it wasn't just us that
right,
grew up like this. It wasn't just us that, like I said, we both grew up in a Hispanic household, but yours was different than mine.
right,
Everybody's is
yeah,
different, and some people feel like, well, I'm the only one that deals with this situation, and sometimes it helps to know that, like, no, other people grew up like this and they made it, through
yeah,
to be, normal,
yeah,
contributing, fucking, members of society and shit.
that's right.
We still
No,
we still here, and we might not be so normal, but we hold jobs, we're living, we pay bills, we go to work, like
take
we're
care of
still doing
family.
all this shit, despite having through a lot of those times maybe thought that we wouldn't be here.
Yeah, no, yeah, no, I think you're right. I tell my mom this all the time, speaking of that. And yes, I love that part. You and I talked about it in between shows where we're like, hey, let's find our story and our narrative, right? Let's share, because you're right. There's a lot of folks out there that there's common ground in, even if, literally their parents didn't go decide to move to Mars, which is
Mhm.
here, and then have us here, first generation immigrant story, right? Us finding our way, no matter what that looked like. And now
Mhm.
us having families forward. These kids of ours, they're the next gen, right?
Yeah.
What does that look like for them? And yes, sharing our story in that way. Yeah, that's something I really want to dive into, Adrian, because I think it's important. And to your point, yeah, if we find someone if we grew with people that thought that they were by themselves, or they're like, oh, dude, I grew up just like that.
Yeah.
Again, households were different, but yeah, like, there was some crazy stuff I didn't know about this, this part of the world, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
That we
Like,
land,
like
that we,
sometimes you can feel like you're the only one going through that kind of thing. You know what I mean? And it's like, nah, there's a lot of people that, went through it and came out at the other end just fine. And like, you just kind of deal. And, we don't have to be on here talking about, physics and science and be therapists and whatever. Sometimes just talking about shit that happened is enough.
but man, what was I going to tell you? Yeah, I think you have something there. I think you have something there. I think you and I talked about it, but we embed ourselves into the story, and like, we're like, hey, if you like it, you like it.
Yeah.
But also never holding back.
Yeah.
Yes, the
Like I
JFK
said,
thing
this
was
can always
nuts.
be edited. We're never doing live shit. It's just,
No, but I think there's a beauty in. So we back to feedback. So just to wrap up, that
mm,
was one part of the feedback. And then what I told Andy, and the other thing was like, yeah, like not being so like, well, what I told her was like,
mhm.
hey, I'm just being myself.
Yeah.
And this is an opportunity for us to do that. And as such, The people that get it, get it. The people that don't, like, no one's career or job is at jeopardy at all. Not at all. Not at all.
And I
There was
guarantee you work-wise, the people that really know you, like your boss and everything, they already know how you are.
that's what I told. That's what I
Guaranteed.
mean. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's not. It is not. It's not. It's not a concern at all for me. Like, the reality is, it's not. It's not a concern at all. You know.
Because, like I
It
said, we're
was
not
good.
going to that extreme. We're not over. You know what I'm saying? That's a whole other thing. If you really, but then at the same time, like we said, if you truly have those opinions, then that's actually your opinion.
That's right. At the end of the day, all of this is our opinion, but also there's a community for everything.
Yeah. No, of course. Like I said, we can go straight the other way, and there will be people that will want to listen
Yeah.
and support.
Yeah. That's
So
it.
that's
Gladly.
not a thing. It's just, but I mean, the thing is that that's not who we are. So in a
That's
way,
right.
we don't really have to. That's the only thing is, like I said, is the tidbits, is the clips. Because if you know us, we're not racist. Yes, we make racist jokes. We
That's
make
the fun part.
like I said, explain to me, like we make racial jokes, but
Yes.
that doesn't make you a racist. A
No.
racist is a whole other thing.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's just like, it's just like the Seinfeld bit of when he says that he has a thing for like Asian women, right? And Elaine's like, well, that's kind of racist. And he's like, how can that be racist if I like their race?
I
You know what I
like
mean? It's
them.
like, you know what I mean? Like, things that are racist for a reason.
Right.
You know, to me, racist can only be. That's why it's hard. It's hard to judge something without knowing, but I think intent is everything.
Intent is everything.
Intent is everything, because I can say something really racial, but if
Mhm.
my intent is not to offend, then to me, by definition, it's not racist.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? I think racist only has one intent, is to harm, is to be,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? That's the only way that you can be racist. But
Mhm.
if you're making a funny joke because it's funny, and you're not doing it to purposely hurt somebody, and like I said, you're an equal opportunity. If you know us, like, we make fun of
That's the
everybody
point.
and
Yeah.
ourselves, then
And
I
ourselves.
think at
Yeah.
that point, but some people don't get it. Some people wouldn't get it. Some
Right.
people don't understand it. You know what I mean?
That's right. That's right. That's the point. I think at the end of the day, it's like, we're always uniform, including starting with ourselves.
Yeah.
And a lot of people aren't like that. Like, a lot of people, what makes me uncomfortable is when there's a focus on, we all have that friend or friend group where, like, they're like, man, you only make fun of these people.
Yeah.
So, like,
But it's like,
that's
no,
different.
you know, it's just like this thing. And it's like, there's some stuff that's just, it is what it is, right? Because
Yeah.
honestly, it's just like, even Dave Chappelle has said this, and people call him out for being racist, because it's like, they
Yeah.
say like, hey, like, the Jews run Hollywood. But it's like, okay, that could sound racist, right? But then it's like, okay, if you go down the list of all the
Yeah.
executives from all the studios and they all turn out to be Jewish, how is that racist?
It's just a fact.
It's just at a certain point, it's just the fact. But
Yeah.
just because you say it a certain way, all of a sudden it sounds like.
You're the bad guy.
But it's like, no, it's like 90% of the studios are run by Jewish people. So how is Hollywood not
That's
being
right.
like, you know what I'm saying? Now again,
Oh.
we're in a safe space and we're in the safe tree. Now, if you say, man, these fucking Jews are the ones that are running, you know what I'm saying? That's a whole other thing. You're saying
the
it
whole
in a
thing.
different way. Now your intent is completely different. Now you're saying it.
Hey, hang on real quick. I got a little bit of breaking news.
Yeah.
ZZ Top singer dead. I remember
Michael
when they did
Jackson
that.
dead at 50.
No, but do you remember who was it? Then they roasted him. I think it was on the Hang Zone. Blake was like, breaking news. This dude from ZZ Top just died. And Jake and Dan on the ticket, they were like,
They didn't even know who it was.
They were like, so what? Why would you interrupt us? They were making a point, and Blake got roasted for it. But it's been happening for a while. But well, here's the deal: is I feel like the only thing I brought up was Andy's JFK thing, but she really enjoyed it, and we need to follow up with your criticisms and feedback, because I want to.
We got it done in between all the stuff that was supposed to happen that hasn't happened
yet. Happen.
You know?
I know.
So
we made it work and made it happen. So more of it like that.
Hit it.
Come on, dog. Hey, tell the boys I say what's up. You talk to Netzer and them if they come.
Totally. Yeah, I think they're here.
Totally. No, that's
Totally. All right.
Tell them to say what's up. Thank you, dude. This was awesome.
No, that's what, like I said, we need to
say,
keep this practicing. This is like practicing. We need to keep doing it.
I like it. And hell, put them in the can, because this is another epi.
That's behind the paywall. Yeah, I want to know how it was behind the scenes.
Then you'll see.
Yeah.
Right before I go to rehab.
All right.
All right, bye.